The fog fell thick that night as Elena decided to venture into the forgotten mansion at the edge of the forest, a place that had been shunned for generations. It was said that voices from the past echoed through its corridors and that inexplicable shadows roamed in the dim light. Elena, a journalist in search of real stories, had become fascinated with the legend and set out to uncover the truth hidden behind the rumors. The house, with its Gothic structure and broken windows, seemed to watch her with a silent resentment. As she proceeded through the main entrance, a shiver ran down her spine, and the creaking of the wood beneath her feet appeared to mark the rhythm of a macabre ritual. Elena felt as though something was following her, yet when she turned her head, there was nothing but the echo of her own steps. For years, the mansion had been the setting for inexplicable events. Stories of dark rituals, disappearances, and the appearance of a mysterious resident whom no one had ever seen up close were told and retold. Determined to uncover the truth, Elena carried with her a recorder and a camera, tools meant to capture the essence of what many considered mere fiction. Upon entering the foyer, the atmosphere turned oppressive, as if the very walls were whispering forbidden secrets. Every room revealed a remnant of the past, faded portraits whose eyes seemed to follow her, dust-covered furniture, and a library where the books appeared to tremble in sync with an inaudible laugh. As Elena explored, she began to notice signs that she was not alone. Faint sounds, footsteps that echoed in the distance, and fleeting shadows toyed with her mind, driving her to the brink of paranoia. In one of the corridors, she found a slightly ajar door leading to an old parlor. There, in a large, cracked mirror, she caught a glimpse of a figure moving slowly behind her. When she turned around, no one was there. Yet the air turned icy, and the silence, deathly, seemed to foreshadow an impending tragedy. The recorder, which she had left running, captured a whispering voice. "You shouldn't be here." The warning, cold and distant, sent a chill down Elena's spine. But it also awakened her journalistic instinct, propelling her to investigate further. As time dissolved into a succession of eternal minutes, Elena sensed an increasingly close presence. The house seemed to have a life of its own, adapting to her fears and replicating them with a chilling precision. The structure turned into a labyrinth, and every corner unveiled a new mystery. A hidden room concealed behind a panel, strange symbols etched into the walls, and an old diary recounting forbidden practices and pacts with dark forces. The diary belonged to a man named Alejandro, a former resident of the mansion who had sought to transcend death by reaching out to the beyond. According to his writings, he had managed to contact unknown entities, but at a steep price. Every word seemed laden with an ancient resentment and a terror that defied human understanding. Elena felt a mixture of fascination and horror as she read the final pages, in which Alejandro warned that the house fed on the fear and despair of those who dared to challenge it. The tension mounted with every step taken through the cursed house. In a narrow hallway, the darkness grew so thick it seemed almost tangible. and the shadows twisted into indescribable shapes. It was then that Elena encountered Daniel, a man with an intense gaze and a face etched by fatigue. Daniel, an investigator of the occult, had spent years trying to decipher the enigma of the mansion. He had witnessed inexplicable phenomena, dancing lights, murmurs that seemed to invoke ancient rituals, and a presence that had accompanied him through his darkest nights. His meeting with Elena was fortuitous, but they soon realized that their fates were inextricably linked. Together, they began to explore the depths of the house, each contributing their own knowledge and fears. The atmosphere grew more suffocating as they delved into the catacombs, an underground place that harbored remnants of a forgotten cult. In those damp, labyrinthine corridors, they found symbols carved into the walls that seemed to vibrate with a supernatural energy. The tension reached its peak when a hidden door slowly swung open, revealing a ritual chamber strewn with melted candle stubs and implements of ancient sacrifices. Suddenly, the floor began to tremble, and an invisible force tore Daniel from the ground, hurling him against the wall. In the midst of the chaos, Elena dashed desperately to his side as a maniacal laugh echoed in the darkness. The presence that had been haunting them from the beginning revealed itself in all its ferocity. A hooded figure emerged, its face shrouded in shadow, clutching a reliquary that seemed to pulse with a malevolent light. In a guttural voice, the entity proclaimed that the mansion had been consecrated to the forces beyond, and that any attempt to unveil its secrets would bring about perdition. Elena and Daniel, paralyzed by terror, tried to escape, but the house seemed to have come alive, transforming into an inescapable trap. The doors slammed shut, the hallways stretched interminably, and the atmosphere became nearly unbreathable. The echo of incessant footsteps and spectral murmurs filled every corner, while the hooded figure advanced slowly, relentless in its purpose. The tension morphed into panic when the recorder's light flickered, revealing distorted images of pale faces and bulging eyes, as if damned souls were trying to flee their fate. In a final, desperate attempt, Elena recalled the words from Alejandro's diary. The house fed on fear, and to break its spell, one must confront that which kept it alive. With a determination born from the deepest terror, she moved toward the center of the ritual chamber. With Daniel by her side, she began to recite fragments of an ancient incantation, their trembling voices uniting in an echo that seemed to defy the very darkness. The entity, surprised by such audacity, hesitated for a moment, and in that brief interval, the atmosphere grew turbulent, as if reality itself were beginning to fracture. The climax was reached in an explosion of light and shadow when the hooded figure, with a thunderous cry, vanished into a whirlwind of dark energy. The house seemed to weep as the air cleared, and a sepulchral silence descended upon the place. Elena and Daniel, their hearts heavy with terror and uncertainty, realized that the liberation had been only partial. The mansion, wounded but not defeated, would keep its secrets and its thirst for fear, waiting for the next brave or desperate soul who dared cross its threshold. The night had returned to its normal state, and the dissipating fog seemed to carry away the last vestiges of the horror experienced. Yet, deep within the catacombs, a faint murmur persisted, a reminder that the supernatural never truly dies. Elena and Daniel, forever marked by that experience, understood that some truths, no matter how dark, hide behind an impenetrable veil, leaving in their wake a trail of terror that never fades. The experience in the cursed house transformed them, making every shadow and every whisper seem menacing in their everyday lives. As they left the mansion, both exchanged a silent glance, knowing that the terror they had faced was only the visible manifestation of a deeper evil. In the echo of the night, the mansion seemed to laugh at human audacity, promising to reopen its doors to those who, in their search for truth, forget that fear is a force that transcends logic and reason. The story of that night was indelibly etched in their minds as an unforgettable reminder. Terror does not reside solely in what is seen, but in what is intuited, in the invisible presences that lurk in the gloom, and in the eternal echo of the laments of the damned. The house and its inherent malevolence would continue to exist, ever waiting for anyone who dared to challenge its dark designs.